Squishies. I'm back again with another vlog. This is Ducktales. I've lost count of the episode numbers, but this is the Golden Lagoon of White Agony Creek and Day of the Only Child. This was a really good couple episodes. This show has really been on a strong streak for a while now. And these two episodes both really did a very good job. The first one brought back a character who is very popular among Ducktales Ducktales fans and Scrooge fans and Duck fans in general of Goldie O'Gilt. In the comics, specifically in The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, and I believe this, like everything else in The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, this is based on a story that was from Scrooges Past that was mentioned in one of Carl Barks's comics, but not explored in great detail, though my understanding is this one was more than most. Scrooge essentially captured Goldie, who was trying to con him, during the Yukon Gold Rush, which I think was the 1880s, 90s, somewhere around then. As they said in the show, over 100 years ago. I do enjoy that they are making jokes about that fact, that Scrooge was introduced as a character who was a believably elderly former adventurer in the 1940s. So 50 years prior, he had been in the prime of his life, and that's the Yukon Gold Rush. That's where Scrooge really made his first fortune. After a series of less than stellarly expensive successful ventures, the Yukon Gold Rush is where he finally hit it big, found enough gold to start building the rest of his empire on. And Goldie and he worked together, basically isolated in this space for, I forget if it was an entire winter or an entire year. And it's strongly implied that they, hooked up. She's definitely always depicted as his great lost love, just as in this episode. And I think this episode did really well with her. It did a really good job of depicting her as being his equal in pretty much every way. A rival who can go toe-to-toe with him and come within a hair of beating him. In fact, she does beat him. Scrooge loses in this episode. Glumgold does too, but Goldie wins. She's the one who makes off with the gold of the Golden Lagoon. Which really explains to audiences that may not be familiar with her, because again, this is a show, while this show is built on and by people who have fond memories of the old DuckTales and who, grew up reading the comics and watching the cartoon and all that kind of thing. It's for children now. And they don't know any of this stuff. Kids don't watch DuckTales, the old DuckTales. So it really lets us see why Scrooge feels the way he does about her. This is his equal opposite. This is the person who constantly challenges him, constantly entertains him, You look at him with her, and there's this spark to him. Like, the animation is done really well. When he's in opposition with her, especially in that final fight with the pickaxes, it has this energy, this smile on his face. Sparring with Goldie is him at his happiest. And that's really nice to see. It's really very well done. So bravo to the animators on that. And to the writers on making Goldie this fantastic character who is at once skillful and athletic enough to keep up and even surpass Scrooge, but also cunning and canny in a way that matches him. He shows her a respect that he doesn't show to his other rivals. He clearly considers Glomgold an inferior, and Mark Beeks an upstart nothing. Goldie is his real rival. In the classic sense of the rival, even. The rival as a character type is someone who challenges the protagonist to be their best self. This is why rivalries in, especially in anime, so often turn from, rival characters so often turn from villains to friends, is because their role is not to obstruct the hero or the protagonist. It's the opposite. It's to raise them up. It's to motivate them to better themselves, to give them something to strive against, to become better. And it's in that sense that Goldie is Scrooge's rival, and he's hers, which is great. That we really get this sense of this two-sided relationship. We can see why each of them likes the other. I would be remiss not to mention the fantastic acting job done here by Allison Janney, who is a wonderful actress and perfectly cast, and just really nails Goldie's voice. She has just that right kind of earned smugness, where her confidence doesn't come across as arrogance. You feel like she can back it up, but you also get the feeling that she's just a little bit needling you, which of course she is. And that's perfect for the rival. I mean, I never really thought about it before, but it's a character that Allison Janney plays really well. Practically every character on the West Wing had this trait, and that's where I originally know her from, is initially the press secretary and later the chief of staff on the West Wing. And she is, in that, so many of the characters, they're the same way. They have this earned confidence, but they're so aware of it that it becomes like a kind of smugness. And Goldie projects that. It's, what it is that that their confidence is earned, and challenging them would mean a great challenge, but you really want to. You really want to wipe that smirk off, And that's what Goldie does to Scrooge, and that's what he finds so enticing about her. And that results in this great dynamic between them. So, excellent episode. Really great use of a classic character in new contexts. Just all around very well done. The second episode was more of a slice of lifey type thing. But the show does those very well. It's inherited a lot of Gravity Falls staff, as I've mentioned before, and Gravity Falls did the relationships between its characters very well. And this show does as well. I really enjoyed how this one was structured, where after the opening scene, we get 3 distinct segments following each of the triplets on their own, ending with the collision between them. I thought that was very cleverly done, because that's the point of Only Child Day, right? Is to pretend that each of them is the only child. So each of them gets a focus. I think I enjoyed Dewey's the most. Possibly because he's the one I feel like we've gotten the least of, and we're getting a bit more of him. Though actually, I think we got the most out of him from Dewey's impression of him. That this is how other people perceive him tells us a lot about how he presents himself. And this kind of, very rulesy, it's, I'm blanking on the actor's name, but it's kind of what he's been typecast as, is Abed from Community. And that's basically who Dewey is. This hyper nerdy, very precise, very socially a little awkward character. But I really enjoyed his segment. The Beagle Boys, again, constantly, this is a recurring theme, that the Beagle Boys are undone by the fact that they're not a healthy family. And whenever they come up against the healthy family that is the McDuck clan, for lack of a better term for it, that is the Ducks, that's a better way to put it. But to be clear, I'm talking about more than just Donald and the boys. I'm including everyone who lives in that household. I'm including Scrooge and Mrs. Beakley and Webby and Launchpad. That's kind of the family of this show. Whenever they come up against them, they lose because of that family thing, and that's reinforcing family, both born and found, is one of the major themes of this show. The Louis segment also brought back, kind of like the Goldie episode, it brought back a character that I don't know anybody was dying to see, Doofus, which I always felt in the old show was a very mean-spirited character. In the sense of, the creation of him was a mean-spirited act. He is, in the old show, was a sweet, harmless guy who was very clumsy and not very bright and constantly the butt of jokes, down to being named Doofus. I like the reboot of the character. I really like him being this spoiled rich kid, because that just fits so much better, that he's not clumsy, he's just so spoiled that he destroys things because he feels like it. He's never been told no, and his weirdness becomes this kind of extreme self-centeredness, which thematically, again, fits in with the whole concept of the show of, family and better together and that kind of thing. And again, the very nature of Scrooge McDuck as a character is very kind of regressive, capitalist propaganda, basically. But the show has been doing a lot to mitigate that by showing, like, how much rich people suck. And Doofus is another facet of that. Doofus really is an infant Mark Beeks. That's how you get a Mark Beeks. That's the kind of person who grows up into one. Entitled, uncaring about other people, doesn't care what he destroys, but desperate for positive validation, for positive encouragement, any kind of positive response from people. So he tries to force that out of them. And then the Dewey segment was just kind of it was fun, but I feel like I'm still not entirely clear. Like, I guess that's kind of the point of him, that he's the middle child and kind of amorphous and less defined than the other two. In the sense of, like, it's very clear what Huey wants. And it's very clear what Louie wants. And Dewey seems less clear. But I think that's kind of the point. This time around, he's playing at TV production. And it's honestly very cute. But he's also at the age where he's embarrassed about play. Like, he's right on the cusp of adolescent, I think. I think the impression I get is the boys are prepubescent, but barely so, like, any day now. So he's aware of social status as a thing, and social opprobrium as a thing, and so he's embarrassed about play. He needs to hide it and to dress it up as being toward some quote-unquote adult purpose, in this case, pretending it's the pilot for a show that he's going to try to actually pitch. But it's it's ultimately just a kid playing in front of a camera. And leads, again, directly to kind of the rescue sequence. Though I noticed that Huey did basically nothing that I can detect. Am I wrong there? Or rather, not Huey. Huey did plenty. Huey rewired the robot. But Huey rewired the robot. Dewey talked the Beagle Boys back into being the Beagle Boys. What did Louie do? Like, I feel like that's the one place where the episode slipped, where it really should have been all three of them were completely necessary to solve the situation and get out of there. Because, again, it's that theme of, like, stronger together family. But, alright. It was still a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for more. I'm so glad this show is back. Though, I suspect... I have lost track of episode numbers, but I suspect we're not too far from the end of the season. I really hope there's another. I suspect there will be. I can't imagine this is not doing well. So, all of that said, I guess that's about it. So, see y'all next time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Patreon for early access to essays, vlogs, gaming videos, and more. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye!